Mr. Chairman, distinguished President of the Parliamentary Assembly, dear fellow ministers and heads of delegations, ladies and gentlemen, allow me at the outset to express my gratitude to Albania and Chairman in Office, Prime Minister and Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, Edi Rama, for the efforts made in chairing the organization in these difficult and complex times, and for organizing the meeting of the Ministerial Council, which is for the first time since the establishment of the OSCE held in a virtual format due to specific circumstances dictated by the pandemic. At a time fraught with political challenges and additionally burdened by unprecedented economic and social consequences brought about by COVID-19 pandemic, it is clear more than ever before how necessary it is to strengthen cooperation, understanding, solidarity, and multilateralism. In that context, Serbia firmly believes that despite the well-known differences of opinion and at times strongly opposed views, the functioning of the organization and its institutions should be our primary goal. We therefore welcome the consensus reached on the appointment of highly qualified individuals to steer the OSCE Secretariat and its autonomous institutions. Strong and autonomous institutions with professional and able staff at the helm play an important role in safeguarding and implementing the OSCE norms and principles as an integral part of the concept of comprehensive security. And they assist the participating states to overcome the challenges posed before our organization due to the present-day situation we live in. I would like to stress that this is an obligation of all of us in a year which is in many respects symbolic. This year, we observe the 75th anniversary of the end of the Second World War, which continues to be a lesson for the future. As a representative from a country which has undergone untold suffering during these tragic ordeals, whose consequences have not been fully healed even today, I have special responsibility and obligation to underline that the horrors of the Second World War should never be repeated in any form. This year, we also marked the anniversaries of the adoption of major OSCE documents, those that laid in the foundations not only of our organization, but also contributed to shaping up the international order created after the Second World War. In addition to the anniversary of the Charter of Paris and the Astana commemorative declaration, this year we also observed as 45th anniversary of Helsinki Final Act, which defined 10 basic principles regulating the relations inviolability of internationally recognized borders, peaceful settlement of disputes through mutually acceptable solutions. Unfortunately, the events that followed, primarily the violation of the territorial integrity of participating states by the use of force, the violation of internationally recognized borders of the Republic of Serbia, is a glaring example. Serve as a reminder that the crises and misunderstandings in the OSCE territory emerged in the wake of selective implementation and failure to honor the basic principles and norms of the Helsinki Final Act. That is why all states need to redouble efforts to restore and return to the original principles and norms upon which our organization rests. In addition to the challenges facing the OSCE, extraordinary and unforeseen circumstances caused by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic additionally complicated the organization's work and functioning of the OSCE mission on the ground. Having said this, I have in mind that human dimension implementation meetings have not been held this year, one of the major forums on human rights and an opportunity for open dialogue among participating states and representatives of civil society on key challenges we face as we implement the obligations undertaken in the field of human dimension. The Republic of Serbia supports peaceful resolution of all conflicts in the OSCE region. We commend the encouraging initial steps towards the stabilization and resolution of the crisis in and around Ukraine, reflected in truce signing on 27 July this year. We share the views voiced by many today who stressed the importance of this progress, at the same time fully committed to the principles and obligations on the OSCE. We are heartened by the progress and promotion of this positive process based on the Minsk Agreement and hope that these positive developments will have a positive effect on other crises in the OSCE area. Despite the positive changes, this crisis continues to affect the civilian population, and our common task and goal should be to put an end on their plight. The Republic of Serbia continues to strongly support the work of the Special Monitoring Mission in Ukraine, particularly in the specific circumstances brought about by the pandemic, and calls upon both sides to enable freedom of movement and ensure security to all minorities on the ground. We welcome the cessation of hostiles and reaching of the ceasefire agreement in Nagorno-Karabakh facilitated by Russia. Serbia deeply sympathizes with all victims in this conflict, and in particular with innocent civilians. We hope that the arrangement will put an end to further loss of life and plight of civilian population, which has already suffered beyond endurance in the wake of the crisis escalation. Allow me now to briefly touch upon the situation in Western Balkans, which has been affected by stagnation of the EU enlargement process. Despite the ongoing difficulties and dilemmas within the European Union, Serbia is fully committed to the European integration and regional cooperation. We consider that only with compromise and flexibility, coupled with readiness to acknowledge the interests of others and not just one's own, it is possible to reach lasting and sustainable solution on the region's problems. This year behind us has also seen the resumption of the Belgrade-Pristina dialogue, stalemated for almost 2 years due to Pristina's unilateral decision to impose tariffs on products from Central Serbia. Serbia has been absolutely committed to and in good faith approached the renewed dialogue. However, true progress is not possible unless previously undertaken obligations from 2013 Brussels Agreement are fully implemented. This primarily refers to the implementation of the part of the agreement dealing with the establishment of the Community of Serb municipalities, which would provide institutional protection to Serb community in Kosovo and Metohija, and an obligation that Pristina refused to implement in the past 7 years. I would like to stress that this part of the agreement is actually taking even more than 40% of the agreement at all. In that context, Serbia expects that the states primarily interested in the success of the future dialogue and with whose facilitation it is being held exert a clear, unambiguous, and decisive influence on the Pristina authorities to finally and without delay honor this obligation. In the end, allow me to extend best wishes and support to Sweden and its Minister Ann Linde, as well as Poland, after them for taking over the chairmanship of the organization at a sensitive time. We support the adoption of the decision on the chairmanship of the organization in 2023 by our neighbor, the Republic of North Macedonia. Thank you for your attention.